Welcome to another edition of the Willy Bragg Show. I am your host, Willy Bragg, and today we have back here, once again, we have Nays Gardens. Last week, there
Oh,
was an attempt, but
give me one. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
not a problem.
Sorry. Okay. I'm so sorry about that. That was me.
Oh, you're good. You're good. It's all good. Last week we had a little bit of issues on my end and a little bit with the Discord, probably still on my end, but now that I'm back from suspension from YouTube, things will be a little bit easier. So how's life? How's life today?
Everything's going really good, Willie, and it's good to see you. And you look good.
Oh, thank you. Well, looks can be deceiving, but I'm good anyway. I'm just just got back from work a little while ago, and I'm gonna go to sleep as soon as this interview is over. So, but I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Good, man. Well, it's a Thursday, so usually we have lawn maintenance Thursdays, cleaning crew Thursdays. Right today, I believe it's cat is out the window Thursdays. So that's what we've got going on here. It's really nothing crazy.
Oh, if you hear a little low roar in the background, it's the washing machine. I'm doing laundry too. So
okay, we're all living our lives. That's it.
Yeah. So there you have it. Yeah, that's how it goes. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so what's up? What's going on today? What's on the agenda on your show?
Today we have been discussing a little bit of the crypto market, which is usually something we talk about. And we also covered why people basically want to come to see my cleaning crew when they're wearing yoga pants, which we actually didn't talk about that at all. It's just the title. Right. I think I just kind of blew it on the title. Your title is perfect, and mine is just like this clown show of a title. I think I've really failed today on my titling.
Oh, I did a really weird title one time. It was a dig at Elizabeth Warren, and I was doing a drunk stream, and it was something along the lines of, it was a snake reference to Elizabeth Warren, and yeah. So I forgot the title of the stream, but it was I just did it just on a whim. It was a great time. I just don't know why I thought about it. If I would have thought about the title, I would love to share it. I forgot what the title is now, but it was a great title, just the same. But it was in reference to Elizabeth Warren being a snake, for which she is.
And I agree.
Yeah.
And I've used the snake. In fact, I didn't even know that the snake avatar existed on Twitter until that whole thing happened. And I was just so pleased to start using that.
Oh, every time I put Elizabeth Warren's name, anytime I type Elizabeth Warren's name, I put the little snake emoji right by her.
Freedom of snake emojis. That's what I like to say.
Yep. Well, here's the thing. I tell when right-wingers say Pocahontas, I'm like, no. You got it all wrong. She is the U.S. Senate does not have any Native Americans. They have two reptiles. They have a snake by the name of Elizabeth Warren and a turtle by the name of Mitch McConnell.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that, and I will never forgive her. So. For what, I'm mad at Bernie. I really am kind of mad at Bernie these days. And I've been kind of harsh on Bernie lately, but I'm still more angry at Elizabeth Warren for what she did to him.
There was just, for me, it was the entire crew of them that stole Bernie's platform and tried to claim it as their own. Andrew Yang and, even Marianne Williamson, and everybody that was running against Bernie and that was stealing his platform. I felt like they were all traitors to Bernie's cause. They were saying the same things. So I felt like it was Bernie had a lot of people against him on many different levels, and he couldn't overcome them. And he gave up way too easily, and he let all of us down.
This is like a combination of the COVID happening. which I mean, we're in a society which is like really fucked at that point. The CARES Act with the $4.5 trillion just went to these corporations, and we just got a measly little $1,200 check out of this whole thing, which was better than nothing. But and then Bernie just bending the knee quicker. I mean, to Biden. It was just like, I was like, God damn it again. And I'm not going to go into details because, again, like I said yesterday to Nikki, I'm like, I don't go into details about the primaries anymore because, it'll be considered conspiracy theory. So I speak in generalities about it. People know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah. So they know, and most people know what happened, and even the people, even the shit lives who were for everybody but Bernie, and they know what I mean too when I bring it up. So there is that.
I mean, if you're gonna fear an ism, right? You're gonna fear an ism. You're going to fear socialism over fascism. I mean, that's where we are now. And a lot of people seem okay with it. I don't know what's going on.
It's hard to believe that people are just so okay with you ever seen the Tucker Carlson Jesse Kelly chat last year? I think it was last year. They were having a discussion about fascism, and while there's a lot to be said about Tucker Carlson, it was more Jesse Kelly than Tucker Carlson on this one. It was something to the effect of, he claims that, if Black Lives Matter and Antifa keeps getting out of control like this, the Republican Party will go ahead and elect a fascist, and we will be a fascist. And he was more or less admitting that the right's going to elect their fascists. I'm like, y'all a little bit too late. You got a bunch of little fascists running around already.
Right.
Not every Republican, obviously, but just, I mean, I don't want to be like that, but it's just kind of like, but the party's been taken over by the, the far right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, man, I can't believe this is happening right now, but my dog is going to sit here and cry until I take him out. I thought he was okay.
Right.
And he's right here crying next to me. He's not going to stop. So I have to take him outside. Is that okay, Willie? Take my dog out really quick?
Sure. Sure.
He's not going to stop. I don't know what else to do. There's no one here to help me. So there's no one. I can't. My father's nurse is outside with him right now.
Will you want me to host my show and your show at the same time while you do that?
Yes. I'll turn the chat back on so you can hear them talking from my chat. Here, let me turn that on. Rogie, I'm going to go out with you in just a second. Okay, buddy. Okay, the text-to-speech is on. So you guys can talk to Willie, and Willie will be able to hear you, and I'll put your chat on screen too. So there you go.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you for being understanding. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Okay. All right. Well, so here I am co-hosting two shows right now. And I'm having a little trouble seeing
Bonsai House. Ha 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 ha, Willie, I'm leaving.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. But anyway, as I said, I'm having a little trouble seeing the screen right now. So there is that. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing well on the other show. And as I said, me and Nay's Garden's been chatting, I guess, pretty much for about a month or close to a month now, on and off. So last week we had been having a little bit of tech issues, and last week I was under suspension from YouTube. So it was, and I was trying to create a side channel, and I was having trouble with that.
Josh T. Hi, Willie. What was your best takeaway from the conversation with Nikki?
Oh, Oh, with Nikki, the best takeaway from the conversation was, her happiness and her new life right now over there. She and I both have a North Carolina connection. She and I are both North Carolinians, and we never met, but
Bunch my house.
I beg your
Not
pardon?
me, buddy. Nay, he left like a cartoon character. Whoosh.
So anyway, yeah. So as I said, I wish, I'm happy for her and all of that, and she's a good person, and as I said, been friends for, I guess, about 2 years now. About 2 years we've been acquainted online when she was living in California. So there, but and the town's like in the middle of Russia, like somewhere in Siberia, and like right in the middle of Russia, east of the Ural Mountains. So, but anyhow, let's see what else what's going on with everybody. Tell me, introduce yourselves, because I cannot see the little the screen right there. I'm having trouble seeing the screen. Maybe I tell you what, I'm going to go put it on.
I'm from NC2. Outer Bacteria.
Oh, you from North Carolina? That's great. Hold on just a second here. Let me do this here, because this will be of great help. Okay, and what I will be doing is this. Great help. Okay, hold on. Okay,
fishing.
What I'll be doing.
I'm from Orlando, like Nay.
Here we go. Okay, now I can see the screen a little bit better, because I am on Nate's Gardens YouTube page, but I turned the volume down, so there should be no echoes or anything of that nature. So actually, I can see myself really good here. This is actually a really good setup over here. That's pretty awesome. Y'all can hear me, right?
Oh, yeah, they can hear you fine. You're loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Okay. All right. Okay, that's great. Let's see. Okay, you're back. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me do this real fast here. Okay, that's great. There we go. Yeah. Okay. I never hosted two shows like that at the same time before, so I feel special.
Thank you. That was great. That was very professional.
Yes. Yep. This sort of thing in the last 3 years, I'm going to be a pro at it.
Let me just correct the record for you. Billy wasn't telling you that he was leaving. He was quoting you. He's quoting me when I said, Willie, I'm leaving. And you're like, he left you in a lurch. He wasn't trying to be rude and say, oh, I'm leaving if Willie's taking over. Just so you know, Billy's cool.
Okay, no problem.
He's very supportive.
No problem. Anyway, so where were we, by the way?
You were actually asking me what I had going on. We were just kind of getting warmed up about talking about, we got into socialism. I said isms. If you're going to go after an ism, why would you go after socialism when, we're being inundated by fascism right now? And I live in Florida with Ron DeSantis here. Women's rights are no longer a thing. LGBTQ rights are no longer a thing. Now that today's article, which is incredible, they're going after unions. So there's a new bill, and it's going to prevent school teachers and other profession, I can't remember what it is, unions from being able to have some of their rights. And so this is just more, I could get the newspaper and read the article, but it's just more fascism. It's just article after article after article every day. There's another bill being passed. Now, Ron DeSantis passed a bill so he can retain his governorship and while running for president of the United States. So he just passed a bill that allows him to do that.
Yeah. Florida is a right to work state, isn't it already? Or
you know what? I really don't know. It's a great question. Right to work means
right to work basically means if your company is unionized, you reserve you as an individual can reserve the right to not join the union, and it sounds good on paper, but it's not.
I don't know. I don't know if Florida is that way or not.
Yeah. It was. I tell people it's designed to destroy unions, and it has. I know that not Florida, Michigan just repealed their right to. One of my friends told me that Michigan just repealed their right to work laws because it became a right to work state. 2014, 2015, something like that, and then they just repealed it. And I guess like this year or last year or pretty recently, which is the first time in decades a right to work law has been repealed in a state. So this is a pretty significant win for labor when you take something like right to work and have it repealed. So,
according to Billy, it is. Florida is a right to work state. You can be fired for any reason necessary. It's unfortunate but true. Anthony Crabaro just said that in the chat as well. So, I'm not aware of what the situation is here because I'm retired personally, but it's a right to work state.
Yeah, I'm from North Carolina, of course. We're unfortunately a right to work state as well. Just some states now in the last several years, in the last decade, that became right to work states that you never thought would be right to work. When Michigan became right to work, I was like, what the hell? Wisconsin. Even though they're red states, Kentucky and West Virginia, which had a labor history, became right to work states, which is, in a weird way, it's odd that they did. And Pennsylvania became a right to work state. So, I mean,
it sounds like right to work sounds like a really bad thing that you wouldn't want to have, right? It's negative.
It's negative, very negative.
So it's weird, though, how the name right to work sounds like a good thing, isn't it?
Well, they kind of dress it up to make it sound, folksy and all of that, and that's how, like when people try to organize a union, and usually management, they will go and say, well, you don't need to go and organize a union. We got an open door policy for management. Yeah, right. I don't believe in that open door policy for management. I mean, I won't say where I work because I had to kind of keep a little bit of anonymity here, but I'm lucky that where I work, I don't really have. I've been lucky for the past 4.5 years in my non-union job. I was previously in a union job for the 20 years prior. I'm at least the management I have dealt with in the last couple of years have been tolerable. But believe me, when I was in my previous job, I've had some clashes with some people where it was kind of required. And believe me, I with my temper, I have a temper, so I would have been fired under some circumstances.
If I was going to task you with renaming right to work, what would you call it? And I said the task is call it something that when people hear it, they're going to understand what it means. What would you call it? In any amount of words that it would take.
I call it right to starve.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, that's what I call it, right to starve, because it's meant to divide. The only way I could put up with right to work, and when Obama was campaigning in 2008, and I noticed as soon as Obama got elected, he dropped the subject like a hot potato. And I would have rather for him to crusade on this labor law legislation than to go with the Affordable Care Act, because if he would have done this, we could have probably been closer to Medicare for All. Was the Employee Free Choice Act. You remember that about back in 2008, the Employee Free Choice Act?
No.
They were trying to do that, and which would have made it easier for unions to organize instead of through the National Labor Relations Board. It would basically make it 50% plus one. Just over 50%, and with the signatures, and it will make it automatic. They call it the card check, and basically it will make it automatic where your union is recognized, and you can actually compete and undermine right to work laws with the Employee Free Choice Act.
Okay.
So, and that would have been the only way I could live with barely live with right to work, to have that piece of legislation around. But he dropped it like a hot potato. So I mean, he never talked about it again once he got elected. Because if we would have had that law, with unions would have grown in spite of right to work, and if there would have been a healthcare plan developed, it could have been possible that something better than what passed in 2010 with the Affordable Care Act could have. We could have. It's possible we could have been on our way to Medicare for all. But then again, we live in the United States, and there's a lot of barriers there. But it would have probably been just a little bit easier.
I want to run something by you, and I want your opinion. Someone told me the other day, politicians lie because, and check this out. This is quite a thing here. Because a lot of them are born into politics because their families are into it and whatnot. And they are because they're set up to understand politics and they're educated around politics. And so we have to imagine that, in order to politic, you have to be able to lie a little bit and game the system, whatever you can, and do whatever you do, because that's what politicians need to do in order to get things done. And that, we should just leave the trust to the politicians and not worry that they're lying about this or lying about that, because they're all doing their jobs and they're doing the best they can do under the circumstances that they're in. And that was told to me, and I almost blew my drink out of my mouth when they told me.
Yeah, it doesn't compute when what I just heard about that myself. I mean, I'm just hearing that. Yeah, because politicians. I mean, as a general rule, I just don't trust politicians like I used to. I mean, and I didn't trust politicians really prior, but I just, I'm just more cynical than I've ever been in my life.
Right, exactly. So this is what I heard you say to Nikichka was, am I saying it right, Nikichka?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Okay. What I heard you say was, I'm not going to vote. And I'm the same way. I'm like, I'm not going to vote. I haven't been voting. In fact, on my podcast in California, before I moved to Florida, if you look on the wall behind me, you'll see 2 presidential ballots unopened in the mail to show that I hadn't voted in the last 2 presidential elections, let alone I'm not going to vote anymore. I mean, I voted against Ron DeSantis and I voted against Marco Rubio. I did. Okay. But I am not voting for the president. And I've got so many different reasons why I'm not going to do that. But I'm almost positive that you said the same thing, that you're not going to vote on the presidential.
And Joe Biden has not earned my vote at all. I mean, he's not earned my vote. And when I hear these progressive gatekeepers tell us, Joe Biden has done so much and we got so much work to do, but we achieved so much. I'm like, what the hell what the hell did the Democrats achieved? Right. I mean, what an attempted trying to do 1984 with the Disinformation Governance Board. I mean,
yeah, that was a good one. I like that one.
And in a way,
the woman that chose to run it. Oh, she was so funny. Oh, that was just so. Can you believe that was before Elon owned Twitter?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. I mean, it's horrible that they overturned Roe versus Wade, but overturning Roe versus Wade was probably the best thing to happen to the Democrats, because had it not happened, there would have been, I wouldn't say it would have been a Republican tsunami, but the Republicans would have had a comfortable majority in the House, instead of the razor thin majority that they have right now. It would have been they would have had a comfortable majority this past November. But overturning Roe versus Wade and sounding as crazy as they've been sounding kind of turned the American people off for a change. It used to work in their favor a little bit, but I think it did kind of turn a lot of people off.
Well, not enough, unfortunately. I mean, I love that you're a free speech absolutist. And whenever I think about how people subscribe to a narrative today, everyone seems to have one. And if you're going to listen to other people and you're going to be able to try to determine what's factual and what's not today, you are a very small group. You belong to a very small group of people. I mean, so many people are going to listen to whatever and just subscribe to it because they feel like that is the only, in other words, let me just say a Democrat is going to vote Democratic. They're going to vote all blue because that is in their mind. That is the only way to combat the fascism that they feel is coming from the right. When, as we all see, there's fascism, equal amounts of fascism coming from both sides.
Yes, that's right.
The thing about Biden, though, that really gets me is, man, just be honest with us. Don't lie to me. And if this would be a lot easier for you to win my support, especially against a Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, if you come out right now and just be like, okay, I know I ran on we weren't going to drill. So this is why we went ahead and did it. After I said we weren't going to, and I know I told you we weren't going to, this is why we did it. And this is why Roe v. Wade got overturned under my, if he'd sit down, instead he's going to go do the State of the Union or whatever he's going to do. And he's going to talk about all of his great achievements that we really don't feel like are helping much of anything. We're not feeling those achievements. As someone that supports women's rights, I'm not feeling them at all, man, because for me, that's the number one problem right now in our country. It's probably not, but for me, it is. I just hate to see women's rights taken away from them, after they worked so hard to get them.
Yeah, I mean, the women's reproductive rights are being taken away from, and it's not. And here's the thing. I mean, not only has it been, we're basically, it's a little bit worse than prior to Roe versus Wade in the early 70s, because 1969, 1970, 71, 72, it was pretty much a states' rights issues. Certain states now are criminalizing people who move from a state that outlaws abortion and goes to another state to get an abortion. Somebody in Texas, basically the governor of Texas, the state of Texas wants to go and prosecute somebody who gets an abortion in New York. I mean, what kind of shit is that?
We're dealing with just a level of denying. People are in a state of hypocrisy. And, I look around, it makes me want to get off of politics. I mean, I'm not going to. I mean, I'm always going to be discussing because that's a part of our lives. And it's always going to keep coming up and thrown in our faces. And I don't use them to try to separate me from other people, but I do use them to identify where someone is socially. If you're going to tell me that you're a Trump supporter, I'm going to have, the first thing I'm going to say is why. You're going to have a lot of explaining to do. And if you tell me you're a Ron DeSantis supporter, it's not going to go. You're not going to be able to even tell me that. I mean, there's places where you can't even explain to me your position politically based on what I know your social values. Let me give you a great example. People who are coming down on this Dylan Mulvaney thing with Budweiser and now Nike are saying boycott the company and whatever and blah, blah, blah. And they want to say, hey, man, it's not that we got a thing about the trans community or LGBTQ people. No, we support them. But we just don't like having companies ram their narratives down our throats. And I say this, what company doesn't ram their narrative down your throat? We've been getting the government, school, wherever, your parents, religion, it's all being rammed down our throats. Television, movies, the commercials, messages, the internet. I mean, it never stops. We're all getting messages rammed down our throat. You're going to take this one time that it was a trans person. Oh, and now all of a sudden the message is getting rammed down your throat. All of a sudden, now that's the one that you're going to boycott. Well, I got news for you. If you want to prove to me that you support the LGBTQ community and the trans community, you're going to support Bud Light. You're going to go drink a Bud Light while you're wearing your brand new Nikes that you just paid $250 for. You know, that's how you're going to support the LGBTQ community. And if you want to speak out against these companies using their platforms to ram shit down your throat, I get it. But you know what? You'd be a little bit more believable if you were doing it. You know, let's talk about the Israel-Palestine boycott. You want to talk about that one, you know, because that's one where I'm like, you know, it's like everything goes out the window. All common sense goes out the window when you want to talk to. And I'm coming from the background I come from. Are you still with me? Oh, you were just listening, bro. That was funny. I was like, oh yeah, you're paying attention. Okay, I got you. Whenever I'm looking at the Jewish community, because I'm a part of it, you know, and I don't just full disclosure here. Since I was 11 years old, I stopped calling myself Jewish, even though I am 99.9% Ashkenazi Jew, and I was bar mitzvahed. At 13, still, I was like, this isn't for me. I don't believe any of this shit. I didn't believe in God and all that stuff. So I walked away from it. But being in that Jewish community and constantly, and then also seeing how the perception of what's going on with Israel and Palestine is, you can't discuss Palestine with Jews. You can't discuss Palestinians. You can't discuss their conditions, their being their oppression. You can't discuss any of that, because as far as they're concerned, in general, around here, at least the ones I know, it's not even a topic. It's not even a thing. There's no evidence that they want to look at. And then if you hold up the evidence, they're not going to look at it. You know, I've got video. I don't want to see that. No, I've got videos from Palestine. No, I don't want to see that. Well, then we can't have this discussion. And this, and I'm just using that as an example. It's everywhere. This ignorance is everywhere, and it's in every topic. It's on every discussion. And all I want to do ever, Willie, is just get to the facts of everything.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, what do you think of the legislation that wants they're trying to that certain politicians are trying to do? It's a bipartisan legislation where they can prosecute people for urging the boycott of Israel.
Psychotic. I think it's psychotic, Willie, and I think that's a perfect example of the narrative toting, the water toting that people are willing to do and look the other way and ignore the other set of facts. And when I say other set of facts, I mean the other facts that exist that they are ignoring, not alternative facts like, you know, the Trump administration was talking about.
Yeah. I mean, once upon a time, I was a supporter of Israel like 20 years ago, and back then it was more of a left side of the issue back then. I was, you know, on the left side of that, you know, of that issue, and even then, I would have said that would have been bullshit to go and prosecute people for boycotting. You know, if you're going to go and boycott. If you're going to go arrest people for boycotting Israel, well, then you're going to go and what if somebody wants to boycott Norway or boycott Canada? I'm talking about countries that nobody, you know, gives up, you know, nobody could be offended by, you know, and everything. And I tell people, you know, if you're going to do that, you know, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And you're right. You can't have a conversation. I have to tell people that criticizing, you know, bad behavior about Israel is not anti-Semitic either, you know?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, this is a really good topic to try to talk about hypocrisy on, because when I tell my mom, you know, the Jews have their own term for discrimination against their group. I mean, and if that's not, you know, elitist, you know, I don't know what is. What other group has their own term for discrimination against them? You know, there's really not a lot. Women have what you'd be a sexist, you know, or whatever. That group has one, I guess. But how many other groups have that distinguished? You know, when Palestinians are discriminated against, what's that called? When Muslims are discriminated against, what's that called? Anti-Muslim?
Yeah.
You know, why is it called anti-Jew? Why isn't it called anti-Jewish? You know, why is it called anti-Semitic? It's so funny.
You know, I mean, and here's the thing. I make this distinction. If you criticize Israel for treatment against the Palestinian people, that's legitimate. You know, but I would say if you criticize Israel because you don't like Jewish people, that's not legitimate. That's right. Yes, the
Right?
distinction right there.
This is the distinction. The same thing with the LGBTQ community. You want to
Right.
go after Budweiser and Nike for ramming a narrative down your throat. You know, I understand, and it bothers me too. I don't like it. At the same time, you got to just kind of drop that little hot potato, because at the same time, you're going to be putting down the LGBTQ community, and it's not necessary. You know, this is die out.
Well, now with Dylan Mulvaney, I just don't understand how people are so offended by Dylan. I mean, I don't know this person in real life, but this person campy. Seems like a nice person, but a little bit campy.
They'll tell you, I'm going to do devil's advocate. They'll tell you the reason is not the individual. They'll tell you the reason is the message that it's producing using that person. And I understand that defense as a lawyer would say, I totally understand you using that as your shield. But at the same time, it's really hard to explain it through that. You just seem so animated. You literally pulled out your gun and shot inanimate objects to show your anger over this. This was way over the top reaction. And I think it's exposing a little something in some people that don't want this exposed. And we could totally go there. I'll just say it. Okay. I think there's a lot of people in the closet around their gender identity. I think there are a lot of red-blooded white older males that are out there yeehawing it away, that are looking and going, to themselves. They're in their little closets and whatever. And that this is an affront to their very existence. This frightens them. This scares them. So what do? They react in a violent way.
Yeah, and this is what I tell people. I've said this even back in the days of the gay marriage debate and just the whole notion of rights for the LGBTQ community. And I tell people, as an ugly straight man, I don't give a shit. Let them have their rights, And that's what I tell people. I mean, I don't, I am so.
It doesn't involve you. It doesn't involve me.
It doesn't involve me.
Why are these big tough guys letting it hurt their fifis? They need to get over it.
Exactly. I mean, now I do have quite a few. I do have a few friends from the LGBTQ community. Quite a few.
Me too.
Yeah. But at the same time, as I said, otherwise I'm not affected one way or the other. But to me, human rights are human rights, and that's what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
that is all it comes down to. Team human. That is the basis of almost everything that I talk about.
Yeah, and as I said, and if somebody just can't be for human rights, it's like I would have to tell that person, what the fuck is wrong with you? Now, if somebody who's old fashioned, a social conservative, and they're not really out there trying to push their old, their fuddy duddy, well, that's not. If they got the little hang-ups, and they're not like, they're not really trying to force their way with their hatred or their little hang-ups. I'm not going to give them hell for it, but I'm talking about those who are activists trying to take away rights from whole groups of people. That's what I got a problem with.
Right. And I do too.
Yeah. I mean,
we talk about that all the time.
Somebody who's a little bit old-fashioned, and they may cringe at it, but they're not out there actively trying to take away your rights. People are people, and I wish that they would be more open-minded, but I'm not going to sit there and try to give them a lot of shit for it, but those who are trying to take away rights, I have a problem with such people.
Right. And there's a lot of that going on, and we discuss it all the time on here. But I want to totally ask you about something different. You saw about this guy that got murdered in the subway in New York, choked out.
No, what happened?
He was a well-known subway visitor that was an entertainer, so a lot of people knew him. He did like a Michael Jackson impersonation and all of this, And he went on the subway and he started yelling and screaming at the top of his lungs. He wanted food, and he was sick of it. He was ready to go back to jail. He was just sick and tired of it. And somebody walked up behind him, a 24-year-old Marine, and put him in a chokehold for 15 minutes and murdered the guy in front of all these other people. They all just watched him choke this guy to death. So New York is protesting now. They're in the subways, and, you know, they're marching, and they're demanding that charges be brought against this guy that killed the guy. And the guy had done absolutely nothing physical to anyone. He was just yelling. And what people say is, this is something that I think is you're all about, is he was just exercising his First Amendment rights of free speech and freedom of expression. He may have been in an enclosed car with a captive, literally a captive audience. At the same time, you know, the only thing he probably could have been hurting is maybe shattering somebody's eardrum, which I doubt happened. And the fact that this guy held this guy for so long in this known chokehold, known that it's banned by the police, and that two other men stood over and just watched this happen, and you know, no one thought to make him stop. Everyone seemed okay to see the African-American man silenced to death. It's just psychotic. I mean, yeah, there's a mental health issue in this country. It should be addressed. Had we had Medicare for all, this guy, this would have never happened. You know, there's all different kinds of ways to approach this. But just as a general human being, man, if I was standing there, I probably would have ended up kicking that Marine in his head after about the 9th minute. You know, I just can't believe people stand by and let things like this happen.
Yeah, well, people are probably just shocked to see it happening. I mean, they're in a state of shock when they see these things, like what happened with George Floyd back in early 2020, April 2020, when they saw that. I mean, yeah, people were saying that. I mean, he said, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe," and you know, and that Derek Chauvin just had a power trip on him and everything, and you know, it just. Everybody's sitting there watching this and in disbelief. What the fuck is this about? You know, and they just thought it was excessive force, which it was. You know, and then of course you had people that were making excuses. Oh, he had a checkered past. I don't care if he had a checkered past. He said he couldn't breathe, and I'm not sitting there saying oh, cops are evil and all that, but I'm just saying that when I see these cops and they get a little power trip and they just put a little extra, you know, pressure and everything. I mean, you know, I just think that they need to do, you know, they need to retrain people in law enforcement a whole lot better than what they do. You know, it just
you literally said that that people came out and said he had a checkered past, and they've already done this to this other guy. They've already said he's been arrested 37 times for this and that and the other. And you know, this is amazing how quickly they just go right to that. You know, it's the victim's fault.
Yeah, and usually when somebody goes with that line about the checkered past, and it's usually when the person that the law enforcement officer kills is black, mm-hmm. and they go with the checkered past of the person. Okay. I don't believe in calling somebody a racist because they may have some conservative views, but I know that is racist there. That is a racist mindset. They're trying to find an excuse to vilify that person. You know, that's a red flag right there.
Do you happen to remember the way Tucker Carlson used to report on Black Lives Matter movement?
You know, I didn't really watch a lot of Tucker Carlson. And I have my take on Tucker Carlson. I have a unique take on Tucker Carlson. I'm not pro Tucker Carlson. You know, it just, but the bigotry that he's accused of, mm-hmm. well, it just makes him a typical Fox News host, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see anything that was so unique about him that wouldn't be uttered out of the mouth of Sean Hannity or anybody else.
Sean Hannity, for some reason, he's the Teflon Don over there. I don't know how he was called to testify in that case with the voting machines, and somehow he's unscathed, and I don't get that, because Sean Hannity is just as vulgar and just as, I guess maybe the difference between Sean Hannity's monologues and Tucker Carlson's more direct. He just says shit. He just says there's no mystery. And I think Sean Hannity gets his point across without putting himself on the chopping block so easily. I think he has more tact,
I think that there is. I think I can explain it. The difference between Hannity and Carlson, and this is by no means a defense of Tucker Carlson. In Fox News, their business model is still based on the George W. Bush, Dick Cheney era. That's what it's based on. And Sean Hannity is that. Tucker Carlson is not of that model. He's not that business model. So I think it was just easier to get rid of him, even though he was there, even though he was the one that was making Fox News the money. They just got rid of him because that business model, they're more used to the Sean Hannity business model, the neoconservatism, the corporatism. Now, Tucker Carlson is a corporatist too, but on rhetoric, on foreign policy, he sounds a little bit better than Sean Hannity. And I think they don't want that. They want a rubber stamping neocon, somebody that's going to echo John Bolton talking points over the air.
Well, I don't think they'll have a problem finding a sellout to do that, because it seems to be just an endless supply of reporters that will just, that'll just fill those shoes. I think Jackson Hinkle, would do a great job to take over Tucker Carlson's place.
Yeah. I have a tough time figuring him out certain days. I've been having a tough time figuring him out lately. So,
that's the problem, is you're trying to figure out the unfigurable. I mean, I've watched him and had to walk away. Even after him and I had him on the show, we did an interview, and he didn't block me, but he wouldn't respond to me on Twitter after a while, because I said I had to call him out on some stuff. And I guess he may have seen those things. I'm assuming that's why he cut off the thing between him and I. But what you'll realize about Jackson is that he is a 100% team player for whatever team he thinks he's on. If he's on the Jimmy Dore team, he's going to back that up 100%. If he's on Team Tucker, he's backing him up 100%. And he was on Tucker Carlson's show.
I knew that.
You got to go see the defense he puts up for the truth teller, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, the great truth teller, man. It's to see Jackson Hinkle cover it. It's just a work of art. I'm like, I bet, man, I would have lost money on this bet. I bet that Jackson Hinkle tweeted at Fox News and was like, hey, if you need someone to fill in for Tucker, but he didn't. And I was like, wow.
Actually, he did he actually delivered a great speech at the Rage Against the War Machine. I have to admit that,
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I watched him for a long time. I supported Jackson.
Yeah, and his debate with Sam Cedar. I mean,
that's when I was just about falling out with him, just about. And he did that thing, and I covered it live, and he did such a great job on the Sam Cedar. Oh, he destroyed Sam Cedar, bro. That was so good.
Yeah.
And they cheated on him, bro. And they brought in the extra people, and they're all ganging up on him, and they tried to edit fake video. Remember that? They were like showed bullshit edited video or what? I can't remember what it was, but I covered that whole thing. It's hilarious.
Oh God, I remember that. And then after that, he just seemed like he started taking it. Just I just it's like he mixes conservatism and Marxist Leninist themes, and I just don't know which way he goes. He's kind of difficult to figure out some days.
Right. Well, he's young. That's the thing. He's
Yeah.
he's very young, and you're allowed to change your politics as you're growing.
Well, he's intelligent, obviously, very intelligent, very, and he's very, he's.
I wouldn't call him intelligent. I'd say he knows a lot of good words and knows how to use them, though.
He does his homework. He does his homework.
He does his homework, but man, sometimes his homework is, against the LGBTQ community or against women or against, he's got like the weirdest takes on things sometimes, man. And when you listen to him speak and you listen to him disrespect women, you're just like, is this the same person that's, was supporting human rights and anti-war and all that? It's very confusing. But, Savage Joy.
Yes.
Yeah, you should have her on your show sometime. And she knows a lot. She has a lot to say about Jackson Hinkle.
Okay.
You really should hear from her. And he's I don't know, man. I've covered when he said some bullshit on his show. I've covered it on my show. I'd like to be able to pull those things up and show them to you, because I can't off the top of my head. I can't fucking remember any of them, and it's driving me crazy. I want to remember what he said that I went off about. But it was his support for the way Ron DeSantis handled COVID in Florida. That was one of the things that really got me upset. And, Ron DeSantis lied about how many people were dying here. So there was a big report done about that. The woman that was exposing all that information, turns out that she's had a checkered past and a checkered now as well. She's got all kinds of drama going on in her life. So, he's been able to use that against her politically and say that she's crazy and whatever. But at the same time, we've got this Dr. Lobato guy. I call him Dr. Lobotomy. Dr. Ladapo, and he is a psycho. And so, Ron DeSantis put him in as the Surgeon General here in the state of Florida. And so what ended up happening was they lifted all the COVID restrictions, all the mask restrictions, everything from all the companies. And then people start dying, and old people start dying, and they start lying about how many people were dying here. So this is all Ron DeSantis doing this, and he brags. He goes around and says, "We've got the fairest, most open. We were open for business in Florida, and blah blah blah." And open for business, and the hospitals are flooded with people, and they've always got a ton. They've got a whole COVID floor, and it's horrible, man. He has absolutely no concern for human beings. He's the biggest fascist in the world. And for Jackson Hinkle to support him, for Jimmy Dore to say nice things about him, for who else was praising Ron DeSantis? It just makes me so sick. It makes me so sick. Well,
the fact that Ron DeSantis has introduced a curriculum on if Jackson Hinkle is a communist, he's introduced a curriculum on communism. I'm talking about Ron DeSantis, and he is a strident anti-communist. Of course, he's in Florida. He needs that Cuban American vote too. So I think that there's partly that as well. But what I'm saying is that you think that would be enough to be like, well, holy crap, I don't know if I could go and support Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis also, whatever one thinks of Trump, I mean, Ron DeSantis is basically a return to Bush Cheney. I mean, he's a rubber stamping Ron DeSantis is everything I hated about George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, and everything that is real and kind of cartoonishly exaggerated about Donald Trump without his comedy show.
So Ron DeSantis passed the Don't Say Gay bill, to protect children up to the 3rd grade. And we said, no, he's not going to stop there. And they're going to take that all the way up. And they did. Now it's all the way up to the 12th grade in Florida, the Don't Say Gay. So a 12th grader can't discuss gender or sex or anything like that.
Absolutely. And the fact that SOB is also a war criminal before he even becomes president. So, are you familiar with a program called Due Dissidence? I think I've told you about them.
Yes.
Yeah, I highly recommend that program. One of their co-hosts, Russell, he said that he's predicting it. It's not a wish, but he's predicting that there is a potential that Ron DeSantis could become the next president of the United States. I'm not convinced that Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee in 2024. I mean,
there's plenty of money. Florida is a giant contributor to Republican politics, and Ron DeSantis, everybody on the right. I mean, I'm sure if you check out OAN and Newsmax, I would have a feeling that they have DeSantis on all the time. They probably love him. I don't know, but I'm just guessing there's a lot of support for him because he is a psycho-fascist and he does all the things. He's anti-African American. He's anti-women's rights. He's anti-union. He's anti-Disney. He's anti, it goes on and on and on and on and on. He's anti-information. He's science. And he tortured people at Guantanamo
Yeah,
Bay.
exactly. He's a war criminal.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So I try to tell people this on Twitter, but no one sees my tweets. So it's like I found other people who are tweeting about Ron DeSantis, and everyone sees their tweets, giant accounts. So I amplify them on my account, but to get a couple extra views on them. But it makes me feel good to know that there's plenty of people here in the state of Florida that do have big Twitter, like doctors and stuff, that speak out. Scientists on YouTube channels speaking out against Dr. Lobotomy here, and about his COVID misinformation. It makes me feel really good. One of the things they misinformed about really bad is some study that Lobato made himself, his own study, where he claims that 85% of males between a certain age drop dead after getting and it's not true. We can't discuss it. We can't say the word.
We know what. Yeah, we know what.
Right, the algorithm. We know the algorithms.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, literally, that is what this doctor here in the state of Florida is telling people. He's trying to pass that off as science. And so there's this guy, his name is Debunk the Funk. He's a scientist. He's funny. He's got this big afro on YouTube, and he wears a shirt that says, "This is what a scientist looks like." It's really funny. Anyway, he debunks all of that stuff, and he's really good. He goes after lobotomy really good and just takes him down. He's like, none of this is true. He made up all of these numbers. Nobody's dropping dead from the, and it's not from what and none of these deaths are from, this. So it's like this. Let me tell you my biggest issue with Jimmy Dore, because I know that you're kind of like down with the door. Let me tell you, this is all around this Dr. John Campbell character. You're familiar with him?
I'm trying to think.
You'll find out. Okay, yeah. So about 3 years ago, I was in California, maybe 2 years ago, somewhere around there, and Jimmy was doing a readout. He's playing back in a reaction video to Dr. John Campbell's video. He had Dr. John Campbell's video playing in the background. He would pause it and then he would talk. And then he'd watch the video some more and he would talk. Okay, this Campbell guy is a proven quack. He's absolutely an anti-science quack. And Jimmy Dore's been told this repeatedly, but he ignores it, and he keeps having the guy on his show. He keeps featuring the guy on his show over and over and over again. One of the things that this quack said was that there was an improper administration of in the muscle, and that because it was hitting an artery, it was causing among people, which wasn't true because, I mean, just doing this with that little tiny thing that's on the end of that thing, and this is a giant muscle on almost everybody. I was just doing this, right? So I looked it up and I was like, why is that administered here? And it said, because it's all muscle right there, and there you don't have to worry about entering an artery. And I was like, why wouldn't Jimmy Dore just Google it like I did? And instead, he's going to take this guy's word for it, that this is somehow because they don't aspirate. You know, for some reason, that's supposed to be causing, all these problems. And it was all, Jimmy Dore was frothing at the mouth over it. And so I tweeted at him. I was like, no, this isn't true. It's anti-science. This guy's anti-science. You check it out, blah, blah, blah. Jimmy Dore eventually blocked me on Twitter. And he's been on my show before. So he blocked me, and then Steph blocked me. But you know who still follows me? Graham Elwood follows me. Ronnie Placone follows me. Lee Camp still follows me on Twitter. So, it's like I feel vindicated just in that. But at the same time, you cannot discuss this topic with Jimmy. He will only take the information from that quack. And that is my biggest issue with JD. That's my biggest one. And I wanted you to know that.
Oh, that's okay. And here's the thing about Jimmy. I don't agree with everything that Jimmy Dore says, and I have some of my normie progressive friends. So some of them I have some friends who are a little more into the TYT.
Oh my God, you're still friends with those people?
I have some friends who are. I have some friends who are like, Sam Cedar could do no wrong, believe it or not. I have friends
that must be a hard conversation to have.
Yeah, but anyway, so I got the reputation that I am a Jimmy Dore simp and all of that. That I just follow Jimmy Dore and I just echo Jimmy Dore talking points all the time and everything. And I'm like, no, there's sometimes some things he says I'm like, it's a little out there for me. Do I agree with Jimmy Dore more than I agree with Sam Cedar? Yeah,
me too. Absolutely, yes, that is true.
Yeah,
and I'll give him that. I mean, I'll tell my audience all the time. I'll be ripping Jimmy apart in 1 second, and then for 2 minutes he'll make perfect sense, and I'll stop and I'll go like, everything that him and Kurt just said, I totally agree with. I just want you guys to know that, and then we'll go on, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, there he goes again.
Yeah. So,
but no, I agree with more that Jimmy Dore says. If like you were to say, Jimmy Dore says, blah blah blah. I agree more with what Jimmy Dore says than disagree with what Jimmy Dore says. Absolutely. Yeah. But there are some, when it comes to COVID, bro, him and I cannot agree on anything. It's like none of it,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I said, and he's controversial. And I think that a lot of people has this reaction. When Jimmy Dore says that, I'm against what he has to say. And even if it's a real left-wing take on an issue, they'll try to spin it around to make it like, oh, that's right-wing, because
right, yeah, Jimmy Dore the right-winger. No, that's never my problem with him. No. I understand leaning right on certain issues, which is fine because I do. I lean right on
everybody.
It's okay.
Even right-wingers have some issues where they lean left, yes. and there's And there's not a leftist out there that there's not an issue too where they lean right. I mean, we're all complex creatures, we're all unique in that regard. I mean,
let me ask you this. Speaking of being unique, have you seen Punch Up Podcast?
I am familiar with it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, so they are a really good alternative, independent podcast on Wednesdays. I watched them last night to counter all of the disinformation that Jimmy puts out there about COVID. They are the exact opposite on that one topic. So they're all about masking and social distancing and getting that and all that stuff. And I really support them in their take on science. I really do. And I also understand that, there's variance and that this isn't a for sure thing and things evolve. And I'm always willing to listen to everybody. But just as an alternative to what Jimmy puts out there, and they're great. And they get drunk during their show, which is kind of fun to watch them get drunk while they do their thing, and Pat's great. We follow each other on Twitter. And I love his tweets, you know.
Oh, are you familiar with a comedian? She works for Jimmy Dore by the name of Misha Paulin.
Is she a producer for him?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm familiar.
My gosh, she's funny as hell. I mean, I just discovered her recently.
Oh, really?
She's funny as hell. I love her humor.
She's probably got me blocked. She's probably got me blocked on Twitter. I don't know. I'd have to check.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her videos in a long time. Yeah, you know, I probably disagreed with something she said once. I have a feeling she put up a video and I was like, wow, you know, no. I was like, whatever it was, I was like, no. But I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what the topic was. So what good is that? You know? It's actually
it's kind of weird. She's kind of like she's like, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It's like her humor is like a little more like a grown up, more dry grown up shoe on head. That's the way I describe her.
Yeah,
like a more mature, but a little bit more dry, humored shoe on head, and that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. So, let's talk about something else. I've got this other topic I want to ask you about. Do you feel that this was a false flag from Putin, this explosion on the Kremlin?
Oh, I just found out about yesterday. Oh my God. I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I don't know if this was, I don't know who's responsible for it. I don't know who's responsible, but if the U.S. is responsible, I'm thinking, my God, what you're trying to do, United States. If Ukraine's responsible, United States, NATO, they need to rethink their relationship with Ukraine over this shit.
Willy, I'm here for you, brother. Listen to me, pal. This is probably what happened. It's probably a splinter group from Russia. They're probably Russians that are anti-war. And they're probably just trying to, you know, somebody's already claimed responsibility for this, and I believe it was a pro-Ukrainian Russian group that did this. America has come out completely denying and known anything about this whatsoever. Kirby was on CNN all morning saying, "Look, it's humorous because what I said was if America was going to do something, he would have been dead months ago. You know, we know how to kill Putin. If America's good at something, it's assassinating people, and for us to think that we can't do that, I think that's a little hyperbolic." You know, to have that thought. America can do anything they want for the most part when they set their mind to it. And if somebody in Biden's administration said, we got to get rid of Putin, I don't think it would be in the form of a little tiny drone that blew up like a little puffball on the top of the dome. And I don't think it was a Russian false flag either. But that's another possibility. It could have been intentional to just try to make it possible for Putin to do more bad stuff in Ukraine. You know, you tried to kill me in my home, so now I'm going to launch more missiles at Ukraine. So those are the two major possibilities: a Russian splinter group, or actually a Russian false flag that is just designed to fool all of us.
I remember when there was a rocket that went into Poland, a Russian, it was apparently quote unquote Russian rocket that went into Poland. It turned out to be a Ukrainian rocket.
Yes.
And it was just kind of like, it was just, you just saw NATO was just like, oh, anything that we can do to just release Article 5 of NATO. It was just like, and for a while, we just like anything they can do to justify Article 5. I'm like, are y'all fucking crazy? You know, it's just nuts. I'm just get depressed just seeing this clamoring for war all the time.
I mean, do you think that Putin has already figured out a retaliation for if they were to announce that there would be some sort of an instant response? You would think it's already planned out. The rockets are already in place, and he's going to launch missiles on installations, NATO installations, simultaneously if they were to announce something. Like, you would think. I mean, it's not like he doesn't know where they're at, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just dynamite. It's just a powder keg waiting to happen. What's been going on, and you know, just I don't know. I mean, and I honestly I hear it from both sides. Ukraine's winning. No, Russia's winning. And actually, I don't know who is winning, but I do know this. I want them to negotiate.
Right, me too. That is the only solution: is not to pick a side, but to pick peace.
Yeah,
either side wants peace.
I'm for both people. I'm for the Russians and I'm for the Ukrainians. You know,
me too.
I'm for them both. I want the killing to end. And one thing that can be done is Ukraine. They need to stop with the Nazism over there and the authoritarianism in the Ukraine. And I wish the Americans would stop acting like they're all sweetness and spice and everything nice. And,
right. Well, let me address that for a second too, because I've come to a different realization with the Nazism, which I really have held that against Ukraine. But at the same time, I've got my family belongs to a synagogue here in Central Florida, and they also sponsor the Holocaust Museum. And year or however long ago, maybe 2 years ago, the Nazis of Central Florida, whoever these guys are, white supremacists, they all gathered outside the Holocaust Center and did like a protest, and the police were there, and it didn't get violent, but there were people that were, so at the time they were supporting Kanye West. Kanye made some anti-Semitic statements, and they put this giant banner up on the freeway, and it said Kanye was right. And everyone in Florida was waiting for Ron DeSantis to come out and say, no, Kanye wasn't right, to do something, to stand up for the fact that there were a bunch of Nazis standing outside the Holocaust Center claiming that it never happened. And Ron DeSantis never did anything. He never said anything. He never made a public statement about it at all. It was as if to Ron DeSantis, none of that had ever happened. That amount of anti-Semitism and Nazis in the state of, just here in where I live, made me realize, man, bro, yeah, there's Nazis in Ukraine. They're out there, giving Nazi salutes and calling the other teams Jews in the sporting events. And here it's not that bad yet, but I could see that happening soon enough here. We got plenty of Nazis here too, and I realize that. I'm like, they're all around the world. And for us, because we silence them, we don't realize how prevalent they really are. Punch a Nazi, silence a Nazi, oh, let them speak. Oh, they can't speak. Oh, well, you got to let a Nazi speak so you know where the fuck they are. That's one of the benefits of free speech, right, Willie?
Well, yes. You ever seen a movie called Skokie with Danny Kaye?
No.
It came out in 1981. You can watch it for free on YouTube. It was one of his last movies. It was about the Skokie, Illinois, the American Nazi Party trying to march, and the whole issue of the community of Skokie, Illinois, and the upheaval that it caused at the time in the late 70s. Mm-hmm. Interesting movie. I highly recommend that. Okay. But it's 35, 40 years ago, he would have said anti-Semitism was something that was kind of like really bizarre in the American political culture at that time. It would have struck me as that, but it's out there today. I mean, and they're using code words. When you hear people talk about cultural Marxism, they're really saying Jewish people,
right?
Hollywood is usually code word for Jewish people. Right. It's just when they talk about New York values,
Can I pause you for 1 second? This is kind of interesting because I've been having a problem with the Convo Couch the last few years, but I saw you had Isabel Fiorella on recently. Well, congratulations on that. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Nice interview. She put up a tweet several months ago, and she referred to "We all know who runs Hollywood." She said that, and now it's okay. This is what happened next. That's really interesting. Jimmy Dore retweeted that anti-Semitic tweet from Fiora from his sock account. And I called him out on it. And when I called him out on it, that's when he blocked me on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
But that the hypnotism, the Hollywood, those references, Fiora put that. If I'm saying her name right, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Fiorella, is that right?
That's correct. The pronunciation.
Okay. She put this out well knowing that was an anti-Semitic tweet, because I tweeted at her and I said right underneath the tweet, I said, this is anti-Semitic and you should probably, consider maybe retracting it or something. But anytime I've ever asked Convo Couch for a retraction, they never do it. It just happened last week. And they'll talk to me all the time. And then if I ask them to retract something because they did something silly, like they did this Biden video, Biden stepping off the podium. This was the Convo Couch account. So Biden steps off the podium and he walks off to the side and just stands there. And so Convo Couch says, Biden just unaware, walks off stage and just stands there in confusion or something like that. So I was like, there had to be something going on. I know there's problems with Biden right now, but let's just go see. And I was live on my show. So I went and I looked up the video and I pulled it up. And within 2 seconds, Biden puts his thumb up. And then a man in an electric wheelchair comes rolling up to him to greet him. And I thought, wow, Fiora Isabella, or Pasta, whichever one of you did that on Con. I know it's one of them. Whichever one of you did that, you should just say, hey, we found out that this was a selectively edited video of Joe Biden. It's not honest to do stuff like that. It's not fair to our audience to lie to them. But I tell you, this has happened repeatedly, and I call them out on their bullshit, and they just ignore me. And they're very sweet, both of them. I love them both. But I just wish that when someone shows you, hey, you made a mistake, or maybe you did this on purpose, but even if you did, haha, gotcha, they act like they're not getting called out on it. And you know what? Because of my little tiny base on Twitter, they really aren't getting called out on anything. Because literally my retweets to her, they'll have like 1 view, and it probably won't even be them. They probably won't even see that I've tweeted at them this, But it's, to me, the truth is that important. And I love them. They're very, very nice people. I love what they do. I love that they go to Cuba, they go to Russia, they cover all kinds of people that need the coverage. I saw Craig on Jimmy Dore a bunch of times. He's a good guy. He's fun. He dances with strangers. What's not to like? Oh, there's just one little thing. There's just one little problem. Can we talk about it? No, we can't talk about it.
Yeah, actually, I met Pasta at the at Rage Against War Machine back in February.
Oh, so. You went?
Yeah, I went. Yeah, I went to Rage Against War Machine.
How cool are you, bro?
I decided to go. I went with the group I'm with, KRTD Media. Mm-hmm. I went with them. So we were representatives there. And
nice. Did you get a press pass?
I did.
How cool, man.
Yeah. So I met a few people there. I met Medea Benjamin. I met Scott Ritter. I met Ron Paul. I did not meet Ron Paul, but he walked behind me. I was like, man, who's that? Oh, that's Ron Paul.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and I saw Kim Iverson speak. I saw, I
do not like Kim Iverson.
Oh.
Like her.
Oh, you don't?
No, she platformed Dr. Lobotomy, bro. And she acted like he was just a genius. He was just an amazing doctor.
She's a little eccentric.
Well, I just want people to realize the truth. And I want people to realize that Dr. Ladapo is literally lying to them. And if you go and like I did, when someone says there's the study, and I'm like, well, great. You got a link to it? Oh, awesome. Click on the link. This study was produced by Dr. Ladapo and a bunch of other idiots. He's literally produced his own study. And so he did it wrong. And so then there's this woman. She's on YouTube. Her name is Dr. Cindy Oliver. And her channel is called Back to the Science. So there's Debunk the Funk and there's Back to the Science. And she destroys lobotomy. She totally destroys all the stuff that John Campbell says, all the things that Robert, whatever that other guy's name is. There's Dr. John Campbell, there's Robert Malone, And so does Debunk the Funk, both of them. I would love it, bro. I would love it if you could get one of them on your show to interview them, if that's something that interested you, but probably not, because you'd probably have to talk about disinformation, and it's taking a chance with, once again, with the algorithms. They're protected for some reason. I don't know how, but they can talk about this stuff. They can feature clips of the misinformation, and then they can sit there and debunk it. And YouTube is fine with them doing it. But if I were to do that, I'm gone. I know I'm gone.
Actually, Kim Iverson gets her channel struck down quite a bit.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen some things on there that I would strike her channel for. Number one, not pushing back against the guy that's lying about science to her audience. That's a problem, but she's on a right wing nut job trip, bro. I mean, I don't know her politics. I don't know what she claims she is, but anybody that's going to feature Dr. Lobotomy on their show and not push back is pushing right-wing talking points.
What I think what I think it is about her is that I think she's generally on the left, but she has some libertarian leanings. And I think that those libertarian leanings tend to
match with Republican style.
Well, she was raised in Idaho.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah. Well, I didn't know she was a libertarian.
No. I'm saying she has libertarian inclinations.
Well, and I think like deregulating industry.
I think it's like, it sounds like she's like a Second Amendment absolutist, things of that nature. I mean, she'll
like a tank, like a Sherman tank, like a nuclear weapon.
Well, I mean, not that far, but just she takes some positions that a libertarian would take. I mean, she's kind of like you can imagine, she's kind of like a libertarian that would be for Medicare for all, if that makes any sense.
Well, it kind of sounds like Ron Paul, right?
Well, I don't know if he's for Medicare for all.
Oh,
but, yeah. No,
he was kind of anti-women's rights, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and she is a little on the. She does. I mean, and I know that Michael Figueredo and her got into a battle. I think it was on Twitter. The boys from the Vanguard were talking about it. They got about the trans issue. She, and this is what they're saying. I don't know, but they said that she's not comfortable with the issue, and I don't want it to be like I'm accusing her of that or whatever. But there was some controversy about that,
Huh.
Yeah. Huh. So, and there's some people that are left leaning that do take that position. So
I want to know why you'd be uncomfortable.
I don't like to accuse people of things. That's if somebody's not guilty of something, I don't want to go and accuse somebody of something. So
right.
I'm just having my ducks covered. So
right.
Yeah. So but anyway, but she's a little centric. I will say that much. And I've had a few.
Let's get into this a little bit. So there's other podcasters out there that I've seen, that I've checked out. I wonder if you may have seen them too. Have you seen Valuetainment on YouTube?
No, I can't. I don't think I have, actually.
He's totally a right winger, but he has a guy that has sensible, independent views on there with him that reins him in sometimes. But he's got this little guy that sits next to him. He's like a mini me. It's like he's like the devil on the dude's shoulder. He's really right wing, and so he'll pull the guy like way far right. And he's huge. Is the reason I mention him is these people that get these giant audiences are a danger. I mean, I'm not saying to deplatform them at all. I'm just saying you need to know about them so we can speak out louder against them.
Yeah, I'm surprised I don't know about them. I mean, I'm going
to tell you about a few others I want you to check out too.
All right.
Okay, check this guy out. You remember DMX? The rapper DMX?
Yes.
Okay. This guy's name is DML. So you should be able to remember it, just associate it with DMX, but instead of an X, it's an L, like extra large. Okay. DML on kick.com. Psycho right winger, and he's got 75,000 people watching him when he goes live. Okay. Of course, there's Steven Crowder who's doing well over there on Kick. And you're familiar with Steven Crowder.
Oh, Stephen Clam Chowder, yeah.
And you saw what just happened with him and his wife.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a better guy.
Right.
I hope she takes it for everything he's worth, because he's just as much of an asshole in real life as he is in his political persona.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the fact that he feels the need to have a gun on his desk for podcasting. That is just so stupid. I hate that. Yeah,
well, I mean, again, there are some rumors about him and Candace Owens, who I can't stand.
I just saw that. I watched Candace Owens, the whole thing, because I can't stand Candace Owens, but because of free speech and all, I watch people now. I will go and I'll watch Candace, and I watched the whole thing she did on Crowder. Man, she's like, Steven Crowder is a bad person.
Yeah, listen, it's delicious seeing the right wing fight. We see the online left fight. It's nice seeing the new media on the right fight too.
Yes, it is. And there is a lot of infighting on the left between, the Kyle Kalinske type crowd with, between Jimmy Dore and Sam Cedar, and they all have relatively large followings.
But they fight over policy, but the right wing fights over personality and they don't really fight over policy.
No, because they've got no policy that they wish to discuss, because their policy is so horrendous. They don't want to remind people.
Yeah.
And the left is getting bad like that too, with trying to silence voices. I'm sure there's some other examples of that. And I'm not just saying examples of the left trying to silence, but examples of the left doing things that you wouldn't normally characterize with the left.
No, Nikki Collins is pretty bad. I mean, she is open about cancel culture.
Yes, that is. Cancel culture is bad. You get somebody like that to become in a leadership position, and then you've got fascism. That's the recipe. A fascist person with power, and that's it.
Yeah, and every people. I mean, when I first heard of her, she was okay until she started talking about, she started talking about wanting to go and cancel people and silence people and everything. And I'm just like,
did you hear what AOC said about Tucker Carlson getting canceled?
Yeah.
We need to do more of this canceling. I'm like, you're saying the words out loud, AOC. You're saying the words out loud.
Here's the thing: when the left do advocate cancel culture or censorship, the one thing that's more honorable about them than the right is that at least when they do it, they're honest. Whereas the right, they go and beat their chest and they're like, "Alpha, we're for free speech here," and then they go and try to silence the first chance they get. They're the hypocrites on the right. I'm not the right that are truly for free speech, but I'm talking about those on the right that they claim that they're for free speech, but the first chance they get, they will silence the left. And this is why I told those on the left, y'all are ridiculous for embracing censorship.
I'm gonna give you my quick Tucker Carlson take. It's just in just a matter of seconds. I feel like generally he was really fired for the Dominion thing, only because of the timing, in that the Dominion payout demand happened on
April
19th or 20th, and then he was fired on the 23rd or something like that. The dates are very close to each other, so it's like 4 days apart, 5 days apart. And I would just say the proximity of that occurrence to me is, mostly to me what I feel like he was fired for. And yeah, if people want to say he was a great truth teller and he was anti-war and all this stuff, and he was having Jimmy Dore and Jackson Hinkle and Glenn Greenwald and Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate on his show, and talking about, what was going on in Syria and what America is, the imperialist country, and and all this, he was never fired for any of these other things until the Dominion thing happened. And if you want to say Dominion was the straw that broke the camel's back, man, I'm willing to say that, but I just can't believe that no one ever mentions Dominion when they're talking about Tucker Carlson's firing. Yeah, because 800 million is a lot of money, man.
Well, I also think that possibly he was the only person on the quote unquote media right that defended Omali Yeshatila, from the Department of Injustice with the arrest that they did against people from the.
When was that? When was that?
Just before he got canned.
Okay, fair enough. I don't even know what you're talking about, Willie.
African People's Socialist Party in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Okay.
Don't you remember they rounded up? Remember the raid in St. Louis last year of the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru movement?
No.
Yeah, they're kind of an eccentric group. There was a raid, and they claimed that there was some Russian ties and everything like that. And actually, Max Blumenthal and Jimmy Dore talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was. I think it was a city council race where there was a candidate backed by the African People's Socialist Party. I think that's what happened, where they got 2% of the vote, and according to Max Blumenthal, that's all it would take for the Democratic establishment to be really pissed about this. Because honestly, who gives a shit what Russia take would be on a city council race in a city, in a U.S. city? Really,
right.
It
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I think that maybe since Tucker Carlson did what they were not supposed to do, and to provide a narrative that, hey, people on the left are being persecuted and having their free speech rights taken away. They're supposed to be like, only conservatives are the victims. There's no such a thing. The lefts are the ones who are the oppressors. I think that was probably the partly. Not completely, but partly why he might have been canned too. Partly.
Wow. Okay. Because Tucker Carlson has said so much raunchy crap on that show. He's treated people so poorly and done such horrible things in the past. And this one, I didn't even know about it. I hadn't heard about it, but I'm gonna have to look into it now because, man, it's in Florida. It's not in the paper here,
Oh, don't worry. Some stuff happens here in North Carolina that I didn't know about. Somebody had to alert me to it, so don't feel bad.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to watch that Jimmy Dore episode about it. I'm gonna type it down. What was the person's name, or if you can remember what Jimmy Dore may have put in the title?
I can probably find you the video. Hold on a second. I can find you the video.
That's even better.
Yeah, it'd be just a second here.
And Tucker Carlson defended the left for their freedom of speech.
Well, it was over the prosecution of the arrest of Omali, the African People's Socialist Party.
Yes. Okay. It was, and he was defending those people.
Yeah, so but I want to try to find the one with
And is that a large? You said it's a very small group of people, or is it a large?
It's a small kind of a small French group. The only reason I know about them is when I was at East Carolina. I knew some black radicals who were with that group, and that I was.
Why would Tucker cover that? Why would Tucker Carlson cover that?
He's kind of a wild card in that regard, and I think that some people on the left gets mad when there's just a little soft defense. I don't like Alex Jones, but occasionally Alex Jones will surprise you too.
Why? Because he only snorts half a line of ultra potent super male vitality in the morning. Is that why?
Yeah, he defended the victims of Occupy Wall Street from police brutality when it was happening a decade ago.
Really? Yeah. Well, a decade ago, but still, wow. Well, that was still when he was making his transition over to the dark side. It was over a quite a long period of time, that transition. He was a really good reporter, a local reporter. He was doing good work. When he first got on the internet, his podcast was pretty straightforward, man. If you look at the very first ones, and it just slowly started as he started realizing he wanted to make more money. I'm afraid he realized that if he appealed to this fringe psycho group that he would start raking it in. I think a lot of it had to do with his product sales, Super Male Vitality and the Super Brain Force and all these lead-laced freaking potions from China that he pushes on people, you know, psychotic. But it's money. It's greed.
Yeah, I'm going to send you the link on your Twitter page, on your message. Okay, hold on just a second here. There you go. This is the Jimmy Dore video. FBI actually arrested black socialists over Russiagate garbage. God. And that's the one with Max Blumenthal.
Whoa. Did you send it? You must have sent me the link at 5 minutes and 55 seconds in. I'm assuming, because I don't think I've watched it, but maybe I watched 5 minutes and 55 seconds of this and I turned it off for some reason. Unless you sent, let me look at the link you sent me. The link you sent me. Oh, it doesn't show the link. I just clicked on the link. You can see the link. I need to see the whole link. Then I'll know. Oh yeah, you sent it to me at 3:52 seconds. That's cool. I was like, no, I haven't seen this before. So cool. I'll watch it from the beginning. It's 20 minutes long.
Yeah, it's really informative. That one. So but I actually haven't seen the Tucker Carlson one. I know the Tucker Carlson video where he's defending this group, but I actually haven't seen it. God, I know they've been talking about it. I mean, certain people have been talking about it and everything. I know that Tim Black said Tim Black was tweeting yesterday that he's going to block anybody who says anything even remotely positive about Tucker Carlson.
Hey man, you know, I don't blame him. Because I've known Tim Black for a long time. He's helped me out immensely with.
I like Tim Black. I don't watch his show like I used to, but I mean, actually, the his reaction to Jackson Hinkle was funny as hell because Jackson.
What's that?
2 years ago. You remember when Nina Turner, I won't go into conspiracy theories, but remember she suffered the same fate as Bernie Sanders against the corporate Democratic candidate in that primary?
Yes.
Yeah. And he was angry at the online left for not being involved. And he started naming every name you can imagine, everyone from David Pakman to Jimmy Dore. He was talking shit about everybody. He went on an unhinged, it was funny, but it was an unhinged rant.
Right.
And Jackson Hinkle did a video and he got pissed with the video he did. And he was just like, he's like, this motherfucker, he did a video on me. He did a video on me. He's like, somebody who he's never met. I mean, he just went off.
So this is funny because this happened between me and Tim Black too. And he called me out on his show just like that. He's like, can you believe this man said this about me? He laughed and he laughed. It was so funny. I can't remember what it was Tim Black said. I think it was something about Herman Cain. Herman Cain was a great man or something. So him and I may have disagreed on that. So, him and I got into it. It was funny and he's a good guy. He really is. But man, I have to go back and see the Jackson Hinkle thing. I didn't know that this happened.
Yeah, about 2 years ago. Yeah. And what happened was, he was making fun of the People's Party, and he was just like, and he says that they love this little Eddie Haskell looking guy, and he kept on comparing Jackson Hinkle to Eddie Haskell.
Wow, that's a stretch.
It was funny. I mean, it was an unhinged. It was, the only thing that made me mad about his rant, I mean, when he attacked Breonna Joy Gray, I'm tired of people attacking her. I like Breonna Joy Gray. I mean, she gets so much crap from people.
Yeah, Breonna Joy Gray, she's very nice.
Yeah, I mean, she's it's just like when people go and attack her, it's like, y'all leave her alone. Really, I just kind of want to defend her honor sometimes.
That's nice. That's nice. I've probably gone off on her a few times. Maybe gone off on her choice of hairstyle and her choice of attire at times, just to kind of spice up what I was already talking about, which were things that she said that I disagreed with. But yeah, I can remember sometimes I've gone after her. Just full disclosure, man, I've gone after a lot of people. And if you start searching it on my channel, you're going to find out how much shit I've talked about all these people. You're going to find things you agree with, and you might find some things that you might not agree with, but you're going to enjoy it, I guarantee you, if you find some of my Kyle Kalinske, David Pakman, me and Tim Black. It's a good one. Me and Jimmy Dore. You're never going to find me ragging on Ron Placone. Me and Lee Camp for sure. You're going to see some things where I disagree with Leon.
Actually, I have a funny David Pakman story.
Okay.
David Pakman played a video criticizing Glenn Greenwald and Tulsi Gabbard, say, well, the Zelensky government said that these people have Russian ties. Well, he's basically said, to paraphrase him, I think they do too. And then I responded, and I said, well, David, this is part of the reason why I don't watch your show anymore. And so he responded to me, and he says, and he responded to me in a tweet, but I could picture him saying it in the voice that he says it. He says, so you stop watching my show because of what the Zelensky government says about Glenn Greenwald and Tulsi Gabbard? Well, you do you. I was like, I wasn't even mad at him. I was just like, I just typical response, Well,
no, I'm proud of you for getting a response, because he's never responded to anything that I've ever sent him, ever. And I've sent him a lot of shit.
Yeah. I mean, I once upon a time, I used to listen to his show on a regular basis. But, after 2016, it just became, Orange Man bad all the time. And
right. Oh, my God. No, it was, I am the poster boy for TDS all the time. I mean, he did this whole thing on Trump derangement syndrome, and he said Trump derangement syndrome is not a thing. And I was like, that is so funny. Because what I did was I went through his podcast titles, and it's like Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, blah, 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 Donald Trump, Trump, blah, 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 Trump, 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 all of them. And so I did a show. And I was like, what about all this, man, mister? There is no such thing as Trump derangement syndrome. It's like all you talk about. And the thing about that is there's plenty to rag on Donald Trump about. There is. But after a point, you run out of things. I mean, you can go back to some of the other stuff. But he tries to pick at things that don't even make sense. And he loses his punch because he's throwing way too many punches and they're all missing, man,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so I just it's like, I'll peek at what he has to say occasionally, and it's just like, okay, this is why I stopped watching the show. So then I go on with my life. But probably the one big streamer that really gets on my nerves is Vosh.
Oh yeah, me too. Absolutely. I can't listen to him for more than 10 seconds. And if I'm listening to him, it's because somebody else posted something somewhere and I don't want to hear it because that guy drives me crazy. The way he just loves the smell of his own farts while he talks. You could just hear that in his voice. Like
condescending.
He loves to hear himself talk. And he thinks he's always making sense.
He's condescending and he's two-faced too. I mean,
oh yeah.
He'll sit there and talk so much shit about people, but when he actually faces them, he's like, he's all, pleasant and everything. It's really just funny as hell, just seeing how, like, for example, I know you're not a fan of Kyle Kalinske. That's okay. But
I used to be a huge fan of Kyle. I was
not so
happy for him when he got together with Crystal Ball.
Well, Kyle is a little dry these days, but
I know.
Old school Kyle.
Blonde hair's got to go. The blonde hair has got.
Oh, he's dyed it back brown again, by the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah, old school Kyle, I liked. Kyle in the last I would say the last 2 years, it's been kind of,
Yeah, when he used to be able to like call out Democrats right alongside with Republicans, that was a good time, right?
and he was a little more independent minded and all of that. But what was I going to say? He talked so much shit about Kyle one day. He said, "I can't stand that guy. It's people like him. He wants to go and throw a wrecking ball at the DNC. I'll never have as many subscribers as him. Oh God, I hate him." That's what Bob said.
Bro.
And I was just like, and then Crystal and Kyle had him on, Crystal, Kyle, and friends, and he was sitting there just kissing up and brown nosing them. It was, I was just like, and they knew he said that, and it was just funny. It was just funny seeing that happen.
Yes.
And then, but probably, as I said, probably the Brianna Joy Gray, his attacks on Brianna Gray pissed me off. She had him on the show and she destroyed him. I mean, she made mincemeat out of him.
Good.
Yeah,
because he likes to think that he can just say things, and there's usually, whenever he's in debates with other people, there's no one there to fact check him on his bullshit. And whenever he has to deal with someone who understands history, he can't get very far because someone's going to be like, "No, you don't understand history," and then you got to explain it to him.
You ever seen Nico House and Bosch debate?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, that was funny. It was on the phone. You didn't see Nico House there, but that was his voice. And they went back and forth for 20 minutes over what is fascism. And they kept interrupting each other. It was like a ping pong match. I'm just like, oh shit. They're never. This debate is not going to go on because they were at a stalemate.
How do you debate a definition of a word? I don't understand how you debate something like that.
Yeah, well, they managed to do it. And
whoa, wait. Okay, you and I are going to debate this right now. All right. Okay, I'm going to pull up the definition. Definition found FASCISM definition. It's going to say an authoritarian and nationalistic right-wing system of government and social organization. Now, the derogatory word of fascism is, the definition is extremely authoritarian, intolerant, or oppressive ideas or behavior. That's the one that I like to go with. Another one is very intolerant or domineering views or practices in a particular area. So the authoritarian, nationalistic, just those two words describe fascism with me. I'm going to have to say, what part of authoritarian are you agreeing with, and what part of nationalistic don't you understand? That was where I would go with it. I mean, I can't wait to hear what they're talking about.
It was 2 years ago, and I forgot the arguments both used back and forth, but it was just funny watching them because they were getting.
Wait, bro, I'm so watching this today. I'm so glad you told me about this. I've never been a fan of Nico's either, Brian. I think you might be, but yeah, I when he did.
Well, I like Demi Dore. I agree with him sometimes. Some issues. There's not a person. There's not a streamer on the left that I don't agree with. That I'm like 100%. I mean, I'm my own person.
I found the 20. It was the very first thing that popped up, bro. The 20-minute Bausch video.
Yeah, as I said, it was hilarious. And it was like little personal pot shots at each other too. It was funny.
It says facts about Biden, so that's the right one, right? The fascism conversation.
I think, because I think that, if my memory serves me correct, I think that Nico House basically was saying. I mean, Nico House hates Biden. I mean, and he actually articulates a good reason to hate Biden. Hate Biden from the left and hate Biden as an African American. From an African American perspective. the 1994 crime bill is, that's my personal take. That's for the African American community, that Biden crime bill really fucked the black youth in this country in the 1990s.
Sure it did. Absolutely. I recognize and completely agree with that. There is, sometimes when I'm thinking about politicians today and how they supposedly evolve and do things, I always go back to Barack Obama's promise that he was going to codify Roe v. Wade and that he failed to do it. And I always think about the reasons why he did it, were because he didn't want to enrage the right. He wanted to work with them. And so this was one of his sacrifices that he made. And whenever he goes into talks with Republicans, he could say, look, I didn't codify Roe v. Wade for y'all, so let's get this done, blah, blah, blah. You remember he got his Obamacare through?
Yeah, Romney Care.
Everyone was Romney Care. Everyone was so impressed by that. And, I have a feeling that was made possible by his not codifying Roe v. Wade, that was part of the deal.
Well, not one Republican voted for it. So
then there was no give. It was that he had the House and he had a super majority.
He had a majority, and he squandered it away. And he spent more time attacking those on the left that were actually trying to push for a public option.
Oh, my brain just melted inside my skull because I just realized that Obama didn't get anything for not codifying Roe v. Wade. There was no deal. He
kind of like what Bill Clinton did. Bill Clinton played patty cake too much with the Republicans, and he punched the left like Obama did. And well, at least with Biden at least pretends like he doesn't punch left. And he passed AOC in the head. He passed Bernie Sanders in the head and said, y'all are good. And then, they're grateful for that.
Right. Because it's better than the alternative. It's the better of two evils. The lesser.
Yeah.
Lesser.
Now, Nancy Pelosi, she did punch. She did punch left. I mean, and I don't mean literally, but she went and chastised AOC several times, and like scolded her like a teacher scolding a 5-year-old child.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mama Bear has to keep her cubs in line so that the cubs can come and take over the throne.
Mm-hmm.
That's AOC has thrones in her eyes, man. She's got that crown. Mama Bear. Oh.
And the thing about AOC, I was just telling somebody the other day that her looks and charm does not work on me anymore.
Yeah, right.
I mean, she's still pretty to look at.
You know what my mom said when I showed her a picture? She's like, "Those are fake boobs." It's like, that's good.
Well, I don't look it, but I'm half Puerto Rican. And I showed a picture to my parents in 2018 when they were visiting and said, "This is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez." And the first thing they saw was like, "What is the matter with her eyes?"
Right.
I'm like, I love her eyes.
She's a makeup artist.
Yeah. No, she's beautiful, but she, she's a sellout. And I think that basically the very last straw was busting that strike with the rail workers. That was the very last straw, the ultimate last straw. I'm just like, and because Shama Sawant was correct, that DSA ought to expel all of everybody from the squad for busting a strike. I mean, it's like, what socialist bust a rail strike?
Was that after Force the Vote? Because Force the Vote
was after Force the Vote.
Okay, because the Force the Vote, bro, that was the last thing for me. She promised us she was going to be the sacrificial lamb on that, and she didn't do it.
Well, Force the Vote was the first. That was the first thing that kind of really pissed me off. I can overlook supporting the Democratic nominee, Joe Biden. I can overlook Bernie and AOC doing this, but when they decided not to go with forced to vote, I'm just like, that didn't set very well. And then little by little, over the years, until the rail strike, busting that rail strike, I'm like, oh no, they're useless. This is a useless bunch. We're no better off than before they showed up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They didn't raise the bucket.
That's why the very first thing we talked about is like, we've come back to it. It's why I don't vote anymore, man. It's and part of it is just because when I feel like a politician is looking me in the eye and lying to me, I feel like I'm a sucker for then going and supporting them, because I know that Joe Biden lied to me. I know that AOC lied to me. I know that Donald Trump lied to his supporters. I know that Ron DeSantis is a liar. And I know that there's better people out there that don't necessarily lie to achieve power or to achieve, they want to change the world. And those are the people that I would rather support. But I cannot support people that are just going to lie to me, man. And that's all it really comes down to is, you said you weren't going to drill, man. You said you were going to protect women's rights. You said you were going to protect, you said you're going to do this. You said you're going to do this. There's a long list of things that Biden promised. And I felt like he should have been writing a lot of legislation and working a lot harder. And I feel like maybe he's just too old to do it, Maybe that's why nothing's getting done. Maybe that's why he's not flying around the world, and flying around to cities and states and talking about women's rights and how important it is we get rid of Republicans, replace them with people who want to defend women's rights, and people who want to defend African Americans voting in the state of Florida. We want to be anti-fascism, and we want the kids to be able to learn without being oppressed and without books being taken out. Do you know in the state of Florida, they passed a bill that says it only takes one parent to complain about a book, and they will remove the book out of the library, out of the school library. And they already had an Anne Frank, an adaptation of Anne Frank's. It was like from another perspective or something. They had it removed from a school library. It was offensive. Some woman found it offensive. So they pulled the book, and they're going to keep doing that. It's not going to stop. So, if voting is the answer, it hasn't helped stop what's going on in Florida. It's just making it worse because they're voting for the wrong people.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make it a red state versus blue state thing, but it was called to my attention that the state that does more censoring is Florida and Texas, more so than so-called woke California.
Yeah,
so-called progressive New York.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
So I mean, there's that and everything. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to go in a moment because
me too. I've got to go as well, Willie. It's good timing.
Yeah. So listen, I enjoyed this conversation, and we got to do this again soon.
We should, and I wouldn't mind doing if you want to do it on Thursdays at 11, or you want to do like a regular thing with me, we could call it like, Willy Bragg and Trendy Nay full disclosure, come up with some kind of a cool little thing, for our segment, because I like it.
Yeah. We can talk about that. Maybe we can do something. We'll see what we can do, but we'll talk about that then.
Okay. Excellent, brother.
All right. You take it easy. Okay.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. Everybody check out Willy Bragg TV, Dirtbag Leftist on YouTube.
All right.
Okay.
All right. And everyone here, I have to go because I have to get some sleep. So I will say greet everybody on the chat line on my side, but I have to get some sleep. So subscribe to my channel and support Nate's Gardens channel too. I'll leave all his information on my description box in a moment. And everyone take care. Bye-bye.